So welcome back, Street Bobber vloggers. Good to see you again. Not that I can actually see you, but you know what I mean. Today I want to talk about raising the bike. Should it be done? Should I do it? Should you do it? What's involved? What your options are? All that kind of jazz. I've been doing a little bit of research. I'm going to talk about just the rear suspension today. I mean, in all fairness, if you're going to raise the front end, you're just going to get bigger forks, aren't you? I mean, that's essentially what you're going to do. So let's talk about the options and all that kind of jazz on the rear suspension. If you are riding a Softail like myself, you know that you've got the monoshock, and there's a few little options out there. One of them being the Bunking riser that goes on the rear shock, and essentially all that is a piece that goes on the one side of the one end of the shock, if you like, and it just increases the distance between the bike and the beginning of the shock by about 1.5 inches roughly, which when the bike is, you know, on its stand or whatever, you are going to notice a fair amount of difference in it, I imagine. I haven't actually seen a Street Bob with the Bunking rear riser type extension thing on, but I kind of like the bike with I kind of like the idea of having the bike raised for a couple of reasons. One, the lean angle. After you know, dropping the bike, as it were, I know that pretty much I've got an extra couple of degrees before I'm scraping those highway pegs, which to me is not very appealing, shall we say. And I have noticed I am starting to scrape a bit more and more every time I ride, you know, which is a good thing and a bad thing in a way. Whereas if I raise the rear end, it is going to obviously increase the lean angle and by quite a bit as well. But whether 1.5 inches is going to be enough to really make a difference, I don't know. Personally, I quite like the look of the bike lowered, but you know, I quite like it raised as well. They both have their sort of pros and cons of what they look like. But with my shorter legs, maybe 5'8", 9-ish, that extra sort of 1.5 inches is you know, quite a lot. And at the moment I'm very comfortable in a stationary position. Will that affect me much when it's up again, or up more I should say? Probably. It probably will. I mean, I rode the Road King, which was about 1 inch higher. I think it's about 1 inch higher anyway, and yeah, there was a noticeable difference there, and it was not difficult to ride, but it was harder to control when I was stopped. And you know, again, the bike was a lot heavier as well, and that full pace puts into, you've all got to put that into consideration with that. So yeah, the Bunking sort of extension, it's a cheap option as well. I don't know how much it is, about $150 I think, but install, now the install I've checked out is not the easiest thing. It's not the sort of thing you're going to be able to do at home, I don't think, unless you've got some serious gear. Basically you take the seat off, and then you take the cover that sort of protects the shock from the seat, if it like, and then you've got to take the shock off. You know, raise the bike up so there's no pressure on the actual the rear wheel, and then yeah, take the shock off, and then you've got to undo the top part of the shock and replace it with the Bunking one, and then you've got to get it back on the bike. The problem comes when you've got to try and compress that spring enough to get it back on the bike. So you need a suspension spring compressor, which not many people have in their arsenal of Home Depot, home garage stuff, you know. So there's your problem, and that's where the problem lies, is compressing that spring to get the spring back on the bike. That said, it's not impossible, and you could take it into any kind of shop like Harley, and they probably do it for you for a price. But you might as well just take the bike in, get it all done under warranty, and you're safe and you're ready to go. Another option, which I prefer, but I think it's going to cost a hell of a lot more, is to change out the shock for a Heritage, Softail Heritage rear shock. Now obviously it's going to be a bigger spring and a softer suspension, and it's going to raise that bike up a fair amount. I'm not sure on the figures of how much it raises it up, but it is more than the Bunking from viewing it, shall we say. You know, it's going to improve your performance definitely because of that softer sort of shock, and you're going to be raised up a lot. The lean angle is going to be huge, but it's the cost. I imagine a rear shock for a Heritage is going to be a lot of money. You're looking up around sort of $1,000, I reckon, for something like that, and that is a lot of money to raise your bike up by a couple inches. And alright, you're going to get a softer, probably a softer ride out of it, but honestly this bike is pretty comfortable and pretty soft as it is. I mean, you know, like I said, I'd love to do it, but is it worth that extra money just to raise it up a few degrees, so you get a few more degrees on the lean angle and all that sort of stuff? And you know, if you buy it yourself and try and install it yourself, you're probably going to come into similar sort of problems as you would with the Bunking one anyway. Alright, you're not going to have to compress the spring, but because that's not designed for this bike, it's probably going to be a longer traveling spring, and therefore not going to be easy to fit clean straight onto the bike, I reckon. I mean, I'm not a mechanic, so I don't actually know. But yeah, there's your two options, guys. And should I do it, or should I just not bother? I mean, the Bunking one is going to cost me about $150 plus the custom tax, so convert that into pounds, you're looking at about 150 quid. And then I got to take it into Harley to get it done, so you're looking at another, at least it's going to be at least 100 or 200 pounds worth of labor costs. You know, it ain't going to take that long, but at the same time, you know, they're not going to just say, oh, it's only going to take an hour. They're going to rinse it if they can. So you're looking at like sort of 300-400 quid to raise the bike up, and you know, is it worth it or isn't it? Or is it worth it or isn't it? I don't know, you tell me. I'm going to leave it there, guys, because I've been yapping on and yapping on a long time, and it's going to take a while to download or upload onto the old YouTube. But guys, I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts are on raising the rear, and if there's any other ideas you have out there, let me know. Should I bother or not is the first question, and which one should I choose if I go down that route? So guys, if you're new to the channel and you've managed to hold on to the bitter end, please like this video, please subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, I have been Street Bob Vlogger. Woo!